good morning. It's May the, what is it? The 8th, I guess. And I'm starting from a different place today. Wanted to get a little further down the pathway here along the creek than I normally do. So I parked over here closer to the bridge and I'm going to go into the bridge, as I've only done once before, and carry on along the Devonian Pathway along the creek and see how far we get. Remembering that every step I go that way I have to take some version of it again coming back, and I want to keep this to about an hour almost. It's a bit windy. I hope the sound is okay. Still my little cotton ball over that, but it's not ideal, I know. It's about 8 degrees and a little cool with the wind blowing right now, but it'll warm up as I walk. So the big thing, if you happen to be on Facebook or YouTube, drop me a note. I'll see it. It's a little cloudy today, makes it easier to read that sort of thing. Big news was last night was the first performance, I guess you say, of Flip the Script, Broadway in Reverse, the show that Regina Musical Theatre has put together, online concert. And it went, well, it was all pre-recorded, of course, streamed last night for the first time. And it went really well. I was quite pleased with it, and my wife and I did a duet, and our daughter has a solo in it, and I do a quartet all by myself, which turned out to be quite funny, if I do say so myself. I'm the very last thing in the show. You can still get tickets at reginalyric.com. Well, they're through Eventbrite. Up to an hour before the show, which technically starts, I think, at 7 p.m. I don't think you can get the German club dinner anymore, but they needed more warning. But you could still watch the show, $25 for a household. And the video's up till about midnight, so it's not like you don't have to exactly match the time suggested. I highly recommend it. Some really good performances. Not saying that just because I'm in it. There were other good performances too. And it's a good way to spend an evening and a good way to support theater, which has suffered greatly during the pandemic. So I walked along here once before, but I had started all the way at home, so I didn't go terribly far along the path before I headed back. So I'm going to go further this time. So this is all part of the Devonian Pathway. Very, very long bike path, walking path. Runs sort of, well, when I walk to the university, which is kind of down on the southeast corner, we were still on this path, or a version of this, part of this path. And now we're heading up to the northwest as I walk this way. I'm going to do west at the moment, but it'll be northwest in a minute when I get under the next bridge. And it goes, well, much further than I'm likely to walk today, because if I did, I'd be forever coming back. Might sometime my wife picked me up after I walk one way along it, as far as I can go. Probably the only way to do that without spending more time than I normally would on one of these. And I do have other things to do today. Being Saturday, shopping, chores. It's also a podcast weekend, so I have to do the transcript and the website and all that, and finalize the episode. It's usually about 4 or 5 hours work, if the transcript is a good clear one, and I think this one is, so that makes it go fairly fast. Okay, this is the first bridge was under Pascal Street. This bridge takes us under the Louvain Expressway. You see the cars zipping by up there. We will go under them. That's what bells are for on bicycles, but very few people bother with them. The guy went zipping by, I had no idea he was there. That's one of the hazards of walking on the bike path, but it's also a footpath, so. And I know, I used to ride my bike along here too. I would like to think I was cautious going around pedestrians, but it's easy when you're on a bike to forget that they can't actually hear you coming. Now we're on the west side of the little van. Airport's kind of off to my left a ways. Off to my left and a bit behind me right now. The creek continues over there, you see. Running below that bank. Just peeking up. Over there, I think that's still a curling rink. It's the curling rink where Andrew Schmerler, a very famous curler here in Regina. I once was out there, what was that for? I think when I was doing my science column in some form, or maybe when I was on What on Earth, which was a national program, and I was their science guy 30 years ago now. I seem to remember being there with a camera crew. Maybe the only time I've been in that building. Did something about the science of curling, probably. I know I've written a column or two about that. Did one on the science of soccer, and actually ended up doing a spot on CBC News World when there was some big soccer tournament going on. It's on my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, if you're watching this on YouTube. And I certainly had more views than anything else I've ever put up there. The performances from last night, I was able to record, and once the show is over, I'll put up our segments on YouTube as well, so you can see my quartet. But I shouldn't say that because that might prevent you from buying a ticket. But you should buy a ticket to watch the whole thing. Pretty curve in the river here. I suppose it's barely possible those trees grew there naturally, but I suspect, like pretty much every other tree in Regina, they were planted at some point. Could be wrong. You do get willows growing alongside creeks in Saskatchewan. If you're going to have any trees growing naturally down here in southern Saskatchewan, it's usually along a waterway. So the last time I walked out this way, I only went as far as this little hill that's coming up because I'd started all the way at home. But today, I go much further. So yeah, the new podcast, Anna Muscat is her name. She writes cyberpunk. What's interesting is that she's German, and she won Germany's top science fiction awards writing in German, and now she's writing in English. I can't even imagine writing in another language, not knowing any of them well enough. So that's quite impressive to me. Some rushes, lots of birds, of course. Some ducks down there, and that's probably a red-winged blackbird there, I think. You see them a lot around rushes along rivers. Not sure that's the technical name for them. That's what I always think of them as. look, dogs. There's always somebody walking a dog. If you're going to see anybody, there's somebody walking a dog. There you go. That's the curling rink over there. That's pointing right at the airport now, and I look that way. So last time I went up here, over to the Italian club over there, and today I'll keep going. Morning. Anybody on Facebook or YouTube? Drop me a note. Say hi. Let me know you're there. If you're on Facebook, I'm always anxious to know if I've got sound, because a couple of times I haven't. So we're leaving the creek for a moment. It's going off that way towards the airport. There's the curling club over there. Some people with their dogs out in the grass. Joggers coming that way. I guess this is where I quit last time, because that's the Italian club over there. There's a great event there called A Taste of Cathedral most years, not last year, in January, where local restaurants bring food and people donate silent auction items, raise funds. How you get down there. It looks closed off. It has a fence. I wonder if it's a dog park. An off-leash dog park. Because it's closed off. There's a bench inside it. Which makes me think that might be what it's intended for. Also, there's people in there with their dogs off leashes, so that might be another. That's what it is. And you can see it says curling over there. Well, you probably can't see, but Walking Commuter, who inspired this, the guy in New York, was able to zoom in. He's using Prism, but when I do that, oh, I can zoom in. Look at that. Well, you're over there. You should be able to see that it says curling on it. Look at that. Normal, but I'd end up in wide angle if I'm not careful. That's normal. I won't do that very often. It's good to know that I can do it. iPhone 11 does have a wide angle capability too, and I don't want to get to that, so I don't know if I ended up with it properly, the proper level or not. I think I probably did. Right, it looks okay. Yeah, that's got to be for dogs to run around without leashes, because there they are. Dogs running around without leashes inside a fence. And here's the parking lot for it over here. I'm going to spend the rest of the walk worrying that I've somehow gone to a wider angle than I should be. Maybe it doesn't go the other way. I think that's probably set. Maybe I'm always on wide angle. I don't know. There's my hand. There's railroad tracks over there. The pathway does eventually go under the railroad tracks. Still haven't had any greetings from anybody. If you happen to be on YouTube or Facebook, say hi. Just I know you're there. Sure enough, off Leash Dog Park. There's a sign and everything. I knew we had one, I just didn't really know where it was. The only time I've been out here has been on a bicycle, so it all seems different when you're traveling slower on foot. Trying to remember what to expect next on the path. I think we go under this road up here and then over towards the aforementioned railroad tracks. And there's this end of the dog park and the curling rink again over there. You can't really see the upward buildings and so forth because of this dike. Watching Gabe, the walking commuter, he was pointing at stuff like that. I've never done that, but oh yeah, that works. Look, there's where we're going. Don't worry, it's the only finger I'll use. I like my viewers, all two of them. Potentially none at the moment, since I haven't had any hellos. Most people, again, watch it after I put it up as a recording. But it's always nice when somebody's there live, so if you are there, let me know. Right, keep right. Control speed. Indeed. It's a bit blind, and if you're going too fast on your bicycle, you could find yourself side as somebody else is coming the other way. And in fact, is this the one where I had my bicycle accident? Or is it the next one? Years ago, I did have a coming together with another bicycle along here. In that case, they wandered into my path. Might have been here, might have been the next one. And I came off, found myself hanging over the railing looking at the river. I think it's the next one. It's this one. Doesn't look quite right. So I'll point it out again when I get there. Oh, there's somebody else walking the path up there. It's a little winter here. Everything's green. At least the bushes will be green. Grass is probably not going to be much greener than this unless we get a lot of rain. No, it's not really in the forecast. I guess it'll green up some. You can see it is fun to bike with the curves in it. Always go for holes. Richardson ground squirrels, I guess. There seem to be a lot of them in that bank there. They like banks. Not the kind you put money in. Yeah, I think it was the one up here where I had the coming together all those years ago. It was one of the things that kind of put me off biking because I didn't have a helmet at the time. Because of the size of my head, it's very hard. I know that sounds egotistical. It's very hard to find a helmet for my big head. And for years I didn't have one, and after having just a couple of times when I did, come off the bike, never hit my head, but I could have, especially when it happened up here. I decided I really shouldn't be riding, at least not speedily. And the bike kind of got parked. Then it got stolen, so now I have a really really good reason not to bike. I don't have a bike. I had a couple of bikes stolen, 3, I think now in total. Yeah, I was under this bridge where I ran into somebody, or they ran into me. I don't believe I was wrong, or I was. But our pedals connected as we went by, and she broke her arm. And so I stayed with her until we got help for that. But I almost went over this railing into the water, which, since there's rocks there, could have been really bad. Well, I say almost, that's what it felt like. As I said, I ended up on my knees kind of hanging over the railing, so I guess I wasn't actually at all close to going over it, but that was my thought. This is the Royal Regina Golf Club we've now walked into. You see, you come around these blind curves on bikes. So that's why that looks like a golf course, because it is. Golf Club, it says here, but it is actually the Royal Regina. It's the oldest golf club in the city, I believe, well over 100 years old. On the rare occasions we golf, it's out at the Wascana Country Club, which is out in the country a ways, not too far. In fact, I could walk out there if I started far enough out. And it's also over 100 years old, but it's a little bit younger than this one, I think. Welcome to the historic community of McNabb. Regina now. But I guess it was its own community at one point. Nice view of the over the barbed wire fence, but nice view of the golf course there. So we're in Empress Park now, says the sign. Watching my time. 23 minutes along here. Once we get to half hour, I will start working my way back. But probably not along the path. I'll take a different route. Back along the creek now again. More trees at the golf course over there. People's houses over here back onto the golf course in the park, which is nice for them. Still haven't had any greetings from anybody watching live, so if you're there, let me know if you're enjoying this walk along the Devonian Pathway, a portion of it. Could put aside like 3 or 4 hours and do the whole thing from start to finish, I guess. There went the YouTube stream. Okay, so my YouTube feed just stopped, so I'm going to restart. Okay, well, hopefully Facebook is back. The feed, I got the warning that the feed had aborted. So I started it again. Doesn't mean it won't happen again. If it happens again, I won't bother trying to restart it. I didn't get any messages about my internet connection being unstable. YouTube just went down. So, if you're just joining me, this is now part 2 of my walk along the Devonian Pathway. Same on Facebook. when I record this, I will edit the two together, so you'll barely notice, except I'm talking about it, that there was a pause there. Happened to me last weekend walking out to the university too. So I hope somebody has found this new stream. Nobody had commented on the last one. So if you're there now, comment and let me know you're there. And if you have sound. The golf course again and the creek. You can see the clubhouse over there in the distance. It's interesting that YouTube went down, but it seemed to pick itself up again as soon as I restarted the stream. So it's probably just a momentary drop in signal, enough to kill it. But there's still some signal here. There ought to be lots of signal here. I don't know what's going on with the live stream. It's funny because Gabe, walking commuter in New York, was also noticing that he'd been getting a lot more buffering and dropouts. And he's in Manhattan. So I don't know. It's probably all those nanobots being injected along with the vaccine so that Bill Gates can control us all. Oh, except he's too busy dealing with his impending divorce. Doesn't have time to rule the world anymore. Looking forward to getting my second shot, hopefully, before too long. Looks like we're headed that way now in Saskatchewan. Oh, if I look through here, give you a nice view of the golf course and the clubhouse in the distance there. The first one's about 23 minutes, so when I come to a natural, like an intersection, there's one coming up, I'll take that road and leave the Devonian Pathway and start working my way back. I'll be working my way back to you. And in fact, here's the road I was thinking of right here. It's just the one I want to take. Yeah, it is. So we'll go right here now, leave the Devonian Pathway, and see if I can find my way back. Pretty sure I can. I have to get back to where the car is. Not finding my way home, but if I go down here, I'll actually be crossing the Louvain opposite the exhibition grounds. Okay, say goodbye to the Devonian Pathway. It goes on much further than that. But it's good to know how long it takes to get to there from where I was for future planning when I plan to walk out much further along it again. So now we have the exhibition grounds ahead of us. We found the wind again. This is part 2 of this morning's live stream. Part 1, YouTube lost the signal, so I restarted. That means the Facebook one also restarted. If you missed the first one, but you joined this one, let me know that you're there. Admittedly, the Devonian Pathway was more interesting than this particular street I found myself on. I'm trying to think. I have no idea what the getting from here to there possibilities are. I might, because I don't particularly want to go across to the exhibition side. think I'll go to the right and see what happens down there. Actually, close to Luther College High School, actually. So maybe I will go a little further this way. We can go down to Dudney and come back from there. We'll make this a little longer, but it's okay. Because I've been meaning to walk by Luther, and since I'm so close, because I used to come down this road when I took Alice to her high school. Oh, yes, Roger, I know the feed died. This is a new feed, feed 2. And anyway, I can't fix it, apparently. But you must be watching the second feed, or you wouldn't have been able to leave a comment telling me that the feed died, so assumingly, you found the second feed. Doesn't matter. The recording is more important. The live stream is nice, but it does fail from time to time. I don't think I'll walk all the way up to Dudney, but this will give us a hint of coming attractions, because at some point I will walk up. And Luther College High School is over there behind the trees. You'll have to imagine it. This will be a surprise when I come back. And then that's Lutheran Church I've been in many times, because that's where the Prairie Chamber Choir that I used to sing with, we always rehearsed there. Not rehearsed there, but performed there and recorded there. That's Luther's playing field there. We're not going to go there just yet. We'll save that for a future trip. Start working back again. Government House is not too far away as well. That's another one I want to save. I'd like to go to the gardens once the flowers are out there. Go back this way now. Have we made that totally unnecessary extra step? General direction of the car. Always looks like with this camera that you're about to walk into something if you're watching as a viewer. In that case I would have, because, oh, flowers starting to come out. Look at that. That's nice. Just starting. Yes, this is one of the recordings I will have to patch. So if you're watching the recording, you probably saw just a slight blip a few minutes ago, and then I was talking about it, of course. Makes me a bit more work, but it's not it's not bad. I patch it together in iMovie, and Bob's your uncle, even if he isn't. All right, so back to 11th Avenue. now a church. I think it may have been a school at one point, but it's a church now. Gateway Christian Fellowship. Of the way things work. I don't know yet. I never walked around here, so this is an adventure. You can see the exhibition grounds in front of us, a bit of Mosaic Stadium. Buildings. Not planning to walk over there today, though. I'll take another turn up there soon. I only walked around Mosaic. I didn't really walk around the rest of the complex. Not that it's terribly scenic, but it's kind of this wind. Go right again. Go right, young man. Go right. Oh, that's better. So yeah, this was definitely a schoolyard at one point. Now it's a church. Makes for a nice big green space here. Playgrounds. Having a cleanup today. It's up here, we run into the railway tracks. We're gonna walk down there. No thoroughfare, I know. I think that's where I either have to go to the pack. Go to the right again. See what happens. So I know the railway is between us and there, and I'm not sure if there's any way through it without going back to the Devonian Pathway. If anybody has found this second feed, let me know. Besides Roger, I know he found it. Roger, you can say hi again if you want, but if there's anybody else, let me know. I always think I'll get more people watching me when I do like a Saturday walk. Never seems to happen. Just people are doing other things on Saturday morning and watching me walk. Go that way, and we'll see what's what, because there's a fence stopping me from going any further. I've never paid any attention to footpaths over here. If there's one alongside the blue van under the railway, I don't know. I'm afraid there isn't, in which case I will have to backtrack a bit. Oh yes, there is somebody else. Jonathan, hi. You know, I don't don't think I can get through here in any way. That's not a fence, it's just the railway tracks, but I'm not going to cross those on foot. Never a good idea. So we either go back and find the pathway, or go here and get trapped. But at least we can go over here and take a look. I'm actually surprised there's not a fence to keep you from crossing the railway tracks. I don't think there's any way through the underpass here. Don't see any sign of a footpath. I see a fence to keep you from going down there. Okay, so that's it. Okay then, I guess I should have crossed up by Exhibition Park. There's a sidewalk, but it ends over there. Or does it? Oh, no, wait, there is a path. Oh, good. It would have been kind of odd if there wasn't. It sure looks that way from where I was. Okay. This is what I was hoping was here, but I wasn't sure. Now I know. The next time I'm down this way. This is the second feed. First one. So you want to go back and catch the first 20 minutes. Well, good to know. There is a sidewalk over there. This is not something you have to pay attention to when you're driving down the Louvain. This is a complicated intersection. Not really, but lots of lights and lines and things. So that's Saskatchewan Drive, and this is the Louvain. And up ahead there is the Italian Club again. And the path is just the other side of it. Get over on the sidewalk on the other side. And I think I will pick up the path and walk back the same way I came for the last little bit of this. Otherwise, I'm crossing the Louvain, and it's not like there's anything terribly exciting over there. It's a bit more direct, I guess. But we'll catch the path and go back under the two bridges, back to where the car is. Trimming brush, it looks like. So I could cross right there. It's a little more direct back to where the car is, but not as interesting. So I'll go a little further out of my way, pick up the path again here. On the other side of 13th. Well, that's 13th then for Louvain. This is definitely a little out of my way again, but not on a timetable. See, the sign up there on the left is the Italian club, and it's easy to get to the path from there. Goes nowhere out that way eventually. Nowhere much. You're basically on the edge of town out that way. Actually, instead of going all the way down to the Italian club, I will go left here. I might be able to pick up the path a little sooner. Just waiting for the leaves to come out and all these walks will be prettier. They were actually prettier in the winter with the snow than they are right now. So when I started this, my first walks were in the snow, and then I had some help the snow, and then I had some more in the snow as the snow came back. Hopefully I'm done with walks in the snow until fall. 4 or 5 months, we'll probably have our first snow of the winter. That one usually doesn't stick, but we often get one in September, even certainly in October. So the path, I think, is just up on top of this dike. We're not far past it anyway. Yeah, it's a little further, I can see heads going by on bicycles a little further than this first dike. This would be for control here. There's the road pointed out on the way by, going the other way. Here's the dike and there's the path. Time to go for holes again. I'm going to break a leg live here on camera. Just have to shoot me. The rider breaks his leg. Well, it's not good for anything. Run from here. So I see the creek in the opposite direction from where we started. Turkeys flying with a jet in the background. Is problematic, but nothing I can do about that. Unless I finally decide to buy an external mic, that might help. Morning. I kind of wish I had a better mic when we recorded the bits for the lyric show that I was talking about, which you can still get tickets to. ReginaLyric.com. It's a good hour and 50 minutes of Broadway songs, gender swapped, so men singing women's songs and vice versa. We watched it last night, we'll watch it again tonight. So my daughter does a solo, and my wife and I have a duet, and I do a quartet all by myself. With fabulous costuming. You have to see it to believe it. So still a chance to see that tomorrow as well. It's tonight at 7, and then tomorrow it goes up at 1:30 or something like that. It's up for several hours once you get the link. It's not like you have to watch it during the precise time that it's scheduled. I was getting messages from people telling me how good I was, and I hadn't seen it yet because I hadn't gotten to the end of the concert, which is where my piece appeared. I'm the very last thing. ReginaLyric.com, $25 Canadian. So to watch it from anywhere. It's on YouTube, or they're using YouTube to show it. And I did record my bits. I mean, I recorded them to begin with, but I recorded them as they appeared because we did it in front of a green screen, and then they put backgrounds behind us, made it look much better. Once the show has aired all 3 days, I will put that on this YouTube channel. And you can see my quartet and my daughter solo and the duet, my wife, and I did. I never refer to her as the wife. This is not a 60s sitcom. Although, if I'd called this Walking with Willett, it does sound like some sort of, more like a 70s educational program. I have a clear memory of a 70s, must have been late 60s, early 70s show on Canadian TV called Here Come the 70s. It's all about how futuristic life in the 70s was going to be. I don't really remember, because I would have been 10, 11. I don't really remember much about what they talked about. I'm sure it was, you know, computers and whatever. Being a 10 and 11-year-old boy, or 11-year-old boy at the time, what I remember is that it started with a naked woman from the back walking into the water. That's the impression that it made on me, more than anything they talked about. So what can I say? That's boys for you. Okay, this is the bridge under the Louvain. That's the same cyclist that almost ran me over when I was here before, going the other way because he didn't give me any warning. He was behind me. Sure looked like the same guy. One more bridge and then across the park, and we're home in the corner. So now we're facing downtown. You can see some of the buildings poking up above the bridge there, and the twin spires of the cathedral are there too if you look close. I know I can zoom in. I did it once before, but well, I'm close to being home. Let's try it again. Zoom in. Oh, my fingers are too sticky. Yeah, it won't work. Screen was not responding, but it did before, so I know it's possible. I was just worried when I unzoomed that I didn't have the right angle, which I didn't want. But I think I'm in the normal. This is running through an app called Prism, and so controls aren't quite the same as if I was just doing it on the iPhone. And if I was using the app that came with the gimbal, there's all sorts of things. It actually has controls on the gimbal for zooming. So I mean, I use the swiveling one, but it has zooming controls, which don't work with this app. So, but you can't live stream out of it, and that's what I'm Didn't even use it when I recorded the bits for the Lyric show. I know what I could do different instead of going back to the park. We can go over here by Sask Express, former school down here, which is now the home of Saskatchewan Express, which is a performance group that young people, most years, they tour the province in the summer, especially going to, you know, fairs and things like that. Quite a busy schedule. Of course, that didn't happen last year, and probably not this year. They also have classes, musical theater, dance, and that sort of thing. And the gym end of the old school down here has been turned into a theater. I can see the car from here, which Lyric did 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee in there. Worked really well for that because, of course, the spelling bee takes place in a school, so an old school gym was the perfect venue. And I hear 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is becoming a live-action movie soonish. So that'll be cool. Right, if I can jaywalk here, it's a straight shot to the car. And it's probably too difficult. A few cars coming. And then I can go. Parking lot, and I'm done. So I know I had at least one person on Facebook on the second stream and one person on YouTube. More will watch the replay recording. Which will go up later. It'll be 3 or 4 hours at least, sometime today. Here's the park. I often walk along the creek over there. That's what I'll probably do on Monday, because that's kind of my, let's just take a short standard walk day. Fridays I walk around the lake. Saturdays and Sundays I'm more likely to do something of interest like this. Like I said, I do particularly want to get over to Luther and Government House area, which was not much further than I went this time. So I could do it, probably be about an hour and a half walk if I started from here, longer if I started from home. Okay, well, there's the parking lot. Thanks for joining me, and I expect I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.